Alright, top 5 hopes for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC. This could be announced any day now. We're hoping early January, so I'm gonna throw a bunch at you right now. There's a couple things we already know have to be addressed in this DLC, like the story continuing and the crystal Pokemon. So let's talk about the other things that hopefully will be in this. First one, a new regional fake. We had Wiglet, we had Toadschool, we need another one in the DLC. And this is something interesting. If you look at the end of the Scarlet and Violet Pokedex in their code names, you'll see two names here. Oka Kingu and Oka Gyarados. Pokemon 1006 and 1007 in the game's code is Toadschool and Toadscroll. So what happened here is Gamefreak originally had a regional fake of Gyarados and Magikarp planned, and at the last minute they swapped it and threw in Toadschool instead. And so this has brought up a lot of interesting ideas, like some people think maybe Orthworm was the concept for early regional fake Gyarados, and then they just tossed it as its own Pokemon. But notice here, Gyarados and Toadscroll have nothing to do with each other. They didn't start working on Gyarados and then transform it into Toadscroll. They replaced whatever they had planned for regional fake or regional mimic Gyarados with Toadscroll, which means somewhere in their notes, whether they want to use it or not, there is an existing regional fake Gyarados. Maybe it's a centipede that walks on the land, who knows? It's terrifying either way. Right now, if you broke into their studios, they probably have concept art of this Gyarados and Magikarp. I'll give you $60 Masada, leak it to me. DM me. We need at least one new regional fake. Number 2, new Paradox Pokemon. Now listen, the current scope of things is having 2 DLCs, one in June and then one in November, like they did Isle of Armor and Crown Tundra. There has to be new Paradox Pokemon. Not just like 1 or 2, but a good amount in each one to make it viable. I mean, you gotta think, there has to be proper content in these DLCs for people to pay like $20 for each one. Let me show you what they introduced in Sword and Shield. In terms of new designs they had to make from scratch, we had 6 regional variants, from the Slowpoke line to the Galarian birds, Urshifu, the 2 new Regis, the 2 new horses, Calyrex and its 2 forms, and then we had a bunch of G-Max designs, which is underwhelming to us because no one even gets to use these G-Maxes. But let me put them on screen right now. They designed these like they were megas. The effort that went into them, they had to have some sleepless nights thinking up these designs. Dynamax just is underwhelming, so we don't see it. All of these you could almost look at as Mega Evolution designs. Venusaur, Rillaboom has a whole drum set. One of the most unique ones, Inteleon, getting the high ground for its sniper. Blastoise, whatever happened to him. When we combine our progress at the end of these 2 DLCs, which is only speculation that it's 2, we should at least have this much. Maybe a couple less, couple more, but this should be the minimum. And so we should get a couple new Paradox Pokemon. We have 2 tiers to Paradox Pokemon. The normal ones like Jigglypuff and Delibird, and then like the super ones, which are Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon, which seem to be based off megas. They need to continue this lore, explain just why these 2 look like megas, and then give us more in both tiers. I'm gonna show you the greatest thing you're ever about to see. Remember Iron Valiant being a Gardevoir and Glade from the future? Imagine they pulled up in the DLC with this. This is Iron Valiant, but in the past. A natural version where Gyarados and Glade were one Pokemon at one point before they split into their roles. And then imagine we get a future Roaring Moon. This dude got the staff. It's got the whole design Iron Valiant does in a natural way. How interesting would it be if you get the other version's counterpart in the DLC? I could go on and on about Paradox ideas. I've made 2 videos here going into some sick concepts you can look at, but we gotta have at least like 4 Paradox Pokemon, brand new introduced. Number 3 is obviously continuing the story of Scarlet and Violet and the mystery that it was left on. Heath went down there, he saw all these weird things, he has these fantastical drawings here, but for some reason these Pokemon don't even exist in his time, as Arvin says at the end of the game here. So what really happened when Heath went down there? Number 4 is a cool concept some of you guys DM'd me, but we have the Ruinous Pokemon, right? Imagine they had alternate forms that they introduced in the DLC, just like the natural disaster Pokemon, an awakened form, because these Ruinous Pokemon are an artifact, a relic given to the king that became like the main body that a Pokemon grew out from. Some Pokedex entries say they used to be a human, but like for example, the Chen Pao, the leopard, it all originates from that sword that's now broken in half. Imagine we get a continued story of who the king that was greedy and had these Pokemon was, what kingdom it was that these Ruinous Pokemon destroyed, and if they have an alternate awakened form, like a Therian form. I mean, think about it. Let me just show you like the glasses fish guy. Is this all that there is to these designs, or do they have a second stage? Or what if it's something crazy, like there's actually a 5th Ruinous Pokemon, like a Regigigas type, and in the DLC you can go and confront him? Maybe there is more to that ancient story that actually included the 5th relic. Number 5, Okay, we're going past 5 in this, is new cross evolutions. We got a couple cross evolutions in this game, like Dunsparce, King Gambit. They were sick, every one of them. But it takes two to tango, Game Freak. This is the best part of DLCs. They need us to pay for them, so they have to give us worthwhile content. We had 4 cross evolutions in the main game: King Gambit, Dunsparce, Farigiraf, and Annihilate. It's easy to fit it in. You just have to make it a Pokemon that didn't exist in the main game of Scarlet and Violet, something you could only find in the DLC, which is why you couldn't evolve it before the DLC comes out. Think it from their point of view, right? For example, the Hitmons aren't in the main game, so if you could find them in the DLC and they all learn a new move that allows them to evolve, that would work. Or what if they did cross evolutions for existing Pokemon that already evolved, like a different evolution for Onix that you can find in the DLC? I won't ask for too many, just give us like 1 cross evolution. All right, number 7, I might have skipped one, is regional variants. Now, because there's so many concepts they introduced in this game, Paradox, Pokemon, regional fakes, there are only 2 regional variants in this game. Well, 4 in total. We have 3 new Tauroses and then a Wooper that evolves into its own Clodsire. They did that because there's many concepts. But of course, the point is to build all these concepts up together, so having at least like 1 new regional variant in each DLC would be good. Imagine there was like a Jinx regional variant that, like Mr. Rime, had a new evolution. A regional Lapras. Maybe an alternate like Kingdra line. Seadra, Horsey, Kingdra, an alternate line, which would not evolve into Kingdra again, but something else this time. And number 8, last but not least, is the evil team in this DLC. I talked about this in this video, but there's potential for a certain organization to be the evil team, and that should happen. The story should continue in a direction where the evil team we didn't get, the typical evil team, we did get Team Star, but the actual Archie-like evil team that we didn't get, that we get in the DLC, and that it leads to something to do with the Crystal Legendary. It might literally be the classic Pokemon climax of the evil team awakening it. You know who I think the evil team should be? It's this symbol right here. The story should lead to them trying to reawaken the crystal Pokemon. Maybe something to do with Sada and Toro's time machine, which is just left there. It's a fully functioning time machine. The only thing missing is the person that knows how to operate it. I'm certain that the missing piece is for in the DLC for an evil team to come and make use of that time machine and really cause the Crystal Legendary to come out. Okay, fine. Number 9 is being able to go to different locations in the DLC, whether it's an island nearby Paldea, but obviously the winning hope is that we get to go to Kalos. Maybe get to go to just a little part of Southern Kalos where they're talking about Mega Evolution, and you can show them Iron Valiant and Roaring Moon, and they'll give you some like new lore about Mega Salamence and Roaring Moon that we didn't know. Imagine, maybe you show Iron Valiant to this dude in this tiny part of Kalos that you can go to, and they recognize it from somewhere, like it's something they drew up, and they imply a lore that that dude you showed to's descendant is the mad scientist that makes it, you know, in the far distant future. So depending on each game, you get some lore about the little Mega Evolution illusion they did in this game. Honestly, it's the biggest hope, being able to go to Kalos. I'll take a small part of Kalos, a big part. It's such a jump to say, but I really want it to happen. Come on, 1 DLC focusing on the crater, 1 DLC focusing on Kalos. Who are we kidding? This is the peak timeline. This is what we need. I mean, does it have to be mentioned? Number 10, show us the crystal Pokemon. That's the one thing guaranteed on this list, them showing us the crystal Pokemon. All right, make sure you guys shank that like button. I'm gonna make videos on the stuff I talked about in this video. I already did the evil team and Kalos, but especially on that Gyarados situation, there's some things I need to say. But let me know your hopes in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.